Mentoring is like guiding someone through Minnesota winter. It requires warmth, patience, and direction. Imagine a child joining a mentoring relationship full of dreams for connection and support. How can we ensure that every mentoring relationship not only begins with hope but also ends with a real impact? Today, we are here to talk about the organization that empowers such matches.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is an organization that matches a kid, a little, looking for mentorship with a willing adult or a big. Longer such matches have a high positive impact on the little's life on a lot of aspects. But human relationships are complicated and a lot of things tend to go wrong, and this leads to short lived matches affecting all the parties involved. So, in today's presentation, we aim to address this by dividing this problem into four major goals. One, what does a successful match look like? Two, why do matches close in the first place? Three, can we identify such matches? And four, if so, can we intervene in those cases to make these matches a success?
Now that we have set our goals, we'll start by addressing it one by one. Firstly, coming on to what is a successful match. To define a successful match, we first analyzed performance of a match over time. And it made sense to look at the data points that have the possibility of having a mature match. So during this period, we looked at what is the intensity of emotions on the support calls. And guess what? We found out that the match which is active for 12 to 15 months has the highest joy and the lowest sad quotient. So according to us, a successful match is something that lasts at least 12 months. Now, we will move on to discuss our other goals. But before that, let me give you a quick overview of what our approach involved. Firstly, starting with our exploratory data analytics. Apart from observing the trends around demographics, cadence, seasonality trends, we perform textual analytics using keyword, go emotions, and distilled word for understanding the interests, emotional tones, and sentiments. Further moving on, we explored census data and did feature engineering to select top features for our predictive model, which helped us mitigate the risk of closure. Based on our results, we created a custom questionnaire, and based on that responses of it, we created the intervention strategies. That's how our overall approach looked like. We'll now move on to discuss our second goal, which is understanding the factors which lead to the closure of a match.
First, we try to understand the top reasons for alignment. Based on the keywords in the rationale for match column, we found these top four interests which led to a much higher success rate. Second, we analyzed the demographic data. The two key insights what we found was one on age. We found if the big's age is between 35 and 40, the match success is much higher. Also, if the gender of the big and little are same, the match success is higher. Here we noticed that this has already been implemented, so there's not much actionability. Next, we try to understand the top four negative reasons that lead to closure. Big time constraints and child losing interest were the top negative reasons with 30% and 15% respectively. Losing contact with the big or child were also other top reasons. Now we try to understand what led to these closure. First, for big time constraints, we use the mid and late stage calls for these matches between the big and the agency to extract keywords that could provide information about the possible reasons for closure. Here, the interesting insight was that keywords like distance, location, unavailable were much higher post COVID. They have risen from around 15 to 30% pre COVID to around 16% post COVID. So, these logistical factors affect big time, and hence addressing this becomes critical for a successful match. The second factor we analyzed was why the child was losing interest. We tried to look at it from the reason why the match happened in the first place to see if that had a link to child losing interest. So we found that if the match aligned because of sports or interest in outdoor activities, there is a higher chance of success in comparison to other reasons. This information could be critical in setting the right expectation and algorithm for the alignment. The other key insights that we found were about success, where that if the match starts in winter, the success is 60%, which is much lower than the other seasons. Our hypothesis is that during this harsh winters, it's difficult to go for an outing in the initial period of the match. This is critical since it's the formative years of the bond. This is also correlated with the cadence analysis. As we can see, if the frequency of calls is higher, that is around once in a month, the success is 77% versus probably once in 2 or 3 months. So having frequent calls with the big in the initial months and understanding priorities and helping with any issues becomes critical for successful match.
Now our goal of knowing why our matches are being closed is achieved. We are interested in spotting matches at early by building a predictive model. We not only use the given data features but also features from our census data and text mining exercise. Since the test data had later calls records truncated, we applied the same truncation logic to the training data to ensure the prediction scenario closely mirrors the test environment. For modeling, we first used autoencoders to reduce dimensionality and uncover key patterns. These compressed features were then fed into a multi-output predictive model to forecast both match length and closure region. So, our entire early warning solution uses an open source NLP toolstack and offers an easy to implement approach that requires minimal technical overhead while maintaining robust efficiency. But we don't stop at prediction. When a model flags a match, we use a conversational questionnaire to verify what's really going on. If there's an issue seemingly going on, we intervene. Based on the closure reasons we discussed earlier, we designed subtle questions that help us to confirm if a match is at risk. The first set of questions covers the scheduling issues where we try to detect if the match is falling out because of time constraints, and these are the questions. To identify scheduling related risks, we ask three key questions focused on upcoming availability, changes in meeting frequency, and preparedness to handle time challenges. These responses help us catch early signs of disengagement and intervene proactively. The second set of questions help us to discover our other major closure reason. That is, are their interests still aligned? This set of questions help us assess the quality of the big little connection and understand the little's social preferences. It gives us clues about the changing interests or signs of disengagement we might otherwise miss. It helps us to spot early signs of stress, so we step in and support the match before things get worse.
We have been focusing on main reasons behind the early closure, as well as we had a look at the questionnaire that helped us detect the at-risk matches, focusing on two major reasons, time constraint as well as loss interest. Let's now take a look at the intervention strategies. If time is an issue, we can offer a pause option and ask the big to take a short break so that he can come back refreshed. When one-on-one scheduling isn't possible, we can suggest them group mentoring. And being in a tech-savvy world, we could also ask them to use a shared calendar that makes life easier. When lost interest is an issue, we can ask the big to start with asking a basic little question to the little. Hey, what happened? What changed for you? Do you prefer doing other activities now? We could also suggest them easy, low effort activity ideas or connect them with the bigs who offered and faced similar situations. And we could suggest them to achieve small shared goals to bring back the energy and purpose. These ideas are simple, practical, and meant to protect the relationship. Now, let's summarize by asking one basic question that we've been covering. How can we prevent early closures? We start by asking big brothers and big sisters to match bigs and littles who align on more than two interest categories. And why do we ask them to do that? Because we see that the successful rate of matches being aligned on more than two interest categories are around 84%, and that is quite a good number. We then ask them to monitor the progress of the match as well as use a predictive model to forecast risk. Use our questionnaire.
This is our
to
team.
identify
We
the
hope you
at-risk
found our
matches
presentation
and then use the
insightful.
intervention strategies.
Thank you so
This
much.
will help them create a lasting impact on each child's life. Strengthening these relationships will lead to much better retention, greater satisfaction, and a stronger impact for the community.
This is our team. We hope you found our presentation insightful. Thank you so much.